All right, AI. I haven't done this in like 10 months. What are we on? Sacred Beasts, the God cards. Wait, there was a retrain on the God cards? I mean, I've seen them in binders and stuff, but I've just never really made the connection. Okay, well, I didn't fix the God cards because they were promos and not in actual packs. Well, that's clearly a flaw of the series. I don't know what to tell you. Look, we're starting back up after a long time. I gotta do something big. I mean, ooh, there were the 5Ds. Oh, I loved those structure decks. They were fun. They were great. I mean, yeah, they were. All the cards were pretty bad. You're right. That is a good reason I should fix them. So let's do that this time. Why, hello, everybody. My name is Prunk, and this is Fixing Yu-Gi-Oh!, where we use the powers of hindsight and game design to fix the many, many issues of early Yu-Gi-Oh! And make things playable again. And I have to tell you, I've actually been looking forward to doing these for a while now. I just haven't had that kind of motivation, but the 5D structure decks are some of my favorites. This is literally just my favorite era of Yu-Gi-Oh! I loved playing these with my cousins at the time. I've just people just having all these different kind of starter decks around that weren't really meta when there was a pretty dominant meta. But these things all just kind of felt good to be fitting in, and everyone had a unique style. Like, to me, this was peak Yu-Gi-Oh! Of what it was meant to be. You got to pick a theme that you really, really wanted. In this case, dragons, zombies, warriors. And you got to stick and build a deck around that theme. And this is the first time that I really do feel like archetypes really started to shine. And we got to play that dragon deck. We got to play that warrior deck that you really wanted. This is the first time that Yu-Gi-Oh felt like I could be a character in the anime versus just playing a bunch of random stuff in a pile. So with that, the starter decks are pretty bad. And there's some work that we need to do. We kind of talked about like the level monsters, but there are going to be a little bit more of the bosses, and I think that what we could have done to make this structure deck a little bit better. So we're going to do this as part in a part series because there's a couple different 5D starter decks. So we're going to do these in all in two parts. If these videos get over 200 like views within a couple weeks, then I will continue the series. I just the views started falling off where it just didn't feel worth making these. So if you really, really do want to see more of this, please, I encourage like, subscribe, and it's going to mean a lot more now than it ever has because if you guys aren't interested in seeing this content, then I'm just not going to make it anymore. And the series definitely fell off a bit more than I really wanted it to, but it's just the videos started to get it just wasn't there anymore for the views and making it worth the time. So if you guys really want, I need that engagement. I need the likes. I need the subscribes. If you want to see this series continue and see what we can do for the rest of the packs throughout the series, let me know. But this is your chance now. This is definitely a community thing. It's up to you guys. With that said, let's get this out of the way. I'm going to start with 5Ds, the Dragon's Roar, and Zombie Madness today, and we're going to go through all the 5D structure decks overall. So again, like and subscribe if you are going to like me, and let's check this out. What can we fix? So Dragon's Roar came out December of 2004, not 20, like 2004, basically. And it came out with the level monsters. It made them a little bit more accessible compared to some of the packs that were out in the past. And it really just set us up with a theme. But what I really, really liked about this structure deck was really getting to implement the Mass Dragon stuff in there, which these are all mostly re-releases with the exception of this guy right here, the Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. This guy says that you can special summon it by tributing one Red Eyes Black Dragon, grants 300 attack to all your dragons monster for gains 300 attack for each dragon monster in your graveyard. Sounds cool. But realistically, you need to have Red Eyes into your hand on the field, tribute, and this card in your hand, meaning you basically have to summon out a couple things. So we kind of need a good way to cheese out Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. Well, the idea behind this structure deck was check. So you can send this card to the graveyard, face up, you control to your graveyard, special summon one Red Eyes from your hand. That's that's good. I mean, like it's a special summon. So you can normal summon this and then special summon a Red Eyes Black Dragon from your hand. And then you can tribute summon, I believe. It's the keyword was tribute. Yep. Cannot be, yep, normal summon. Okay, no, you can special summon this. So it is a normal summon, special to get this guy out, all to make this Red Eyes Darkness Dragon a massive beat stick. Um, as we kind of know, massive beat sticks don't really do much in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the fact that you need to have this many play like cards to make this card work just isn't really feasible. And so we need to figure out a good way without breaking the bank to make that Red Eyes card a little bit more playable overall. And I think I got the good way to do it. So talking about Red Eyes Chick. Again, you can send this face-up card. You control the graveyard, special summon one Red Eyes Black Dragon from your hand. I do think that this card, as it stands here, is completely fair. I do think for that time period, this card is completely playable to just normal summon and then special summon and get it. You got 2400 beater out. Not, I mean, like it's not amazing, but you can basically mass dragon into Red Eyes Chick and then special summon or on your turn, special summon a 2400 beater. That's pretty good. Like it's not taking up all too many resources. You get this guy out with just like a mass dragon, or you even normal summon it, and it is allowing you to special summon the Red Eyes. So that is completely fine. The problem I kind of have comes down to this guy right here, the Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. I mean, just this guy gaining stat points. This guy doesn't really. It doesn't come. It can get big. Don't get me wrong. It can get really big. And if we make it too easy to special summon, then this guy, as it stands, just gaining those stat points. Like if we did the Mass Dragon trick, then it's Mass Dragon. That's one card in the graveyard. Then we got a Red Eyes. The Red Eyes. I'm sorry. Red Eyes Chick, Mass Dragon, and then the Red Eyes Black Dragon. That is 3 cards that go into the graveyard. That's 900 attack as it stands. That's 3300. That's pretty cool. So this guy being a big beat stick like that is okay, and it's not that bad to summon off right off the bat. My problem with this card is this is basically like a Buster Blader in a sense. Like I do feel like this doesn't have good a really good synergy to play with the other 5Ds like boss monsters. And that's kind of where I'm going to kind of go with these themes. I want to make dragons unique and feel like they are the powerhouses that they are. I think that when I think of dragons, I think of flame breaths. I think of hoarding gold. I think of like just really big things. Not I get stronger because I have dead dragons. Like dragons are often alone. So it doesn't really fit that theme to me. So what I really want to do is I think the dragon archetype and playing off of some of like the level dragons should be all about destruction. So that's kind of where I want to play this card a little bit more. And I think this card can be a lot stronger and playable with a dragon themed deck if we do one basic change with it. So here's my pitch for Red Eyes. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand or by graveyard by banishing one Red Eyes Black Dragon from your side of the field. Okay. I think that's pretty strong. It's a pretty strong effect. It does allow you to be able to use this as discard fodder, so it's just not a dead draw. So we can help with the consistency issue of even having this card in your hand. We also could technically make this one of those red cards, just that comes from the extra deck and can do special summon from there if we really wanted to. But to to keep it in the kind of theme, just have this card being discarded and having this card in the graveyard. Also, I think kind of it reinforces that darkness theme coming from the darkness from the graveyard to just come and destroy somebody else. I like that a lot. And it's a dragon. It's got to destroy something. So when summoned this way, destroy one card on the field, whether it is your card, your opponent's card, front monster or spell, whatever they want to do. This card's coming in and it is popping something. That means that you are able to tribute off and when you tribute off and banish that red eyes, then it is going to automatically that trade, because you're basically trading in 2 cards to destroy one thing on the field. This isn't a broken effect by any means, but it is pretty easy to get out now, and so that way it is a lot more playable playing this cool big boss dragon monster. And honestly, it may even see play relatively like for a few years after making that kind of change, just because you're able to not, it's not just a dead draw, it's something you can play. And when Red Eyes gets support in the future, this card becomes significantly more viable than just haha, I have a big beat stick after tributing out 3 different things. So having that destruction effect is a good long-term effect for this guy that may make this card more popular and playable in the future. So that's my big pitch for Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. I do think that change and keeping that destruction element with the dragons fits us even with like the other level monsters. Which, what people might argue is like, well, I could play the level monsters instead. Well, we made some good changes to those too that make them a lot more better. But if Red Eyes is one of your favorite dragons, and it very well could be because Joey is a lot of people's favorite character in the anime, people want to play this guy specifically over the level monsters. If you don't have that attachment, then level monsters do offer a different playstyle that will give you similar effects, but in a different way. So Red Eyes can get get the dragon effects, and just a different way to bring him out. Granted, a lot of them will do resolve around Mass Dragon, but that just means that Mass Dragon's a staple for Dragon decks, which is completely fine because it's a Dragon Searcher. So, Red Eyes, Darkness, Dragon, I consider you fixed. I don't even have to change any of the other cards, really, just because of Red Eyes Chick. This card works the same way. So I still have to have Red Eyes in my hand to kind of get my bonus effect off of Red Eyes, Black Dragon Chick. God, these names are annoying. And I just, you don't have to change much. You just have to change that one added effect of this guy can be brought back from the discard pile. And even if you really wanted to keep that attack gaining stat, that's fine. You could do that, but I think this card is a lot better and more dragon-like, rise and more darkness-like when you are rising from the graveyard and then destroying something on impact. So that's my pitch. Red Eyes Darkness Dragon, you fixed. The other thing I kind of want to bring up, which I'm not sure if I've tried fixing this card in the past or not, is just the Dragon Speed. Discard one card from your hand, negate the effect of a trap card that targets one face-up dragon type monster, and destroy the trap card. I just discarding a card from your hand is such a heavy cost, and it has to be a trap card specifically, and I don't like this card whatsoever. I do think that this could just be negate the effect of a trap card that targets one face-up dragon type monster on the field and destroy the trap card. Maybe instead of this being a continuous, we can make it into a counter, like a counter trap, and do that. There's just so many ways really around this card that just don't make it relevant. Even if it's a continuous spell, or a continuous trap, then you're gonna get its effect off and just be done, or just change it to a actual spell card to make it a little bit more faster. That way you can you can play this card and then set up your dragon play, and then you don't have to worry about like trap hole and stuff. So like I think something along those lines would fix this guy pretty easily. I don't even know if I fixed this card in the past, but I think we can fix this guy pretty easily just by either changing it into a continuous spell, so that way it's a preventative, or just make it a counter trap. But ultimately, discard one card from your hand. It doesn't need to exist. Dragons are not drawing, so that is a massive cost for very specific removal. We got to change that in order to make it a little bit better. And this will, by just getting rid of that discard effect, it gives dragons a solid staple that in the future you can always play it in a dragon deck and make this card more relevant. So let's talk about the boss of zombies, the Vampire Genesis. This is coming from our Zombie Madness structure deck. This is the boss monster that just never got to see play. He's a scary dude, but his effect is good, but he's just tough to get out because, again, similar to what we needed for the Red Eyes Black Chick, you need to be able to tribute out a tribute summon monster. So this guy has, again, to be in your hand by banishing a Vampire Lord you control. Once per turn, you can discard one zombie monster to the graveyard, then target one zombie monster in your graveyard with a level less than the discarded zombie monster, and special summon that target. So this guy, the discarding effect again and again, early Yu-Gi-Oh, you're just not drawing much at all, so your resource management needs to be on top. And just discarding a zombie to get out another zombie onto the field, yeah, it's strong, but it's not going to be a consistent thing, so you really have to push for game if you bring this guy out. And he's not an easy guy to cheese out just because of Vampire Lord. Let's take a look at him again. So Vampire Lord reads, if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, declare one card the type to a monster, sends monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent sends one to the card, blah, 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 blah. Once per turn during your next standby phase, after this card in the possession was destroyed and sent to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, special summon this card from the graveyard. So Vampire Lord was a pretty solid boss monster for a long time in the meta. And he's definitely playable in this stage. So why not just making a bigger version of him work as a boss monster, really? Just instead of having the whole discard stuff, why don't we just make Vampire Lord into Vampire Genesis, and since they are being tributed, and make a more suited up version of Vampire Lord? We can also do some stuff with the graveyard as well, and this guy can rise from the graveyard again just by having a similar effect to the Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. So I think putting those two cards at mirrors of each other, but instead of this guy just coming in and destroying, he's got a bigger stat line. let's just play with Vampire Lord's effects. You're tributing off this guy. I'm assuming this guy is becoming Vampire Genesis because you're tributing off him. So he's just powering up. So let's play with that. All right, so let's look at the fix. And it's pretty much just combining the two guys. It fits with that vampire theme. It fits with them coming back to alive. And honestly, it makes it much more playable. So let's go with this. Cannot be normal summoned and special. Also, because of the brick of text, this is why bullet points are so important. Because now you can look at each of these effects a lot more cleaner. It's harder to see on here. Let me see if I can zoom this in just so you can kind of see. This is a little bit more clean, having those little solid bullet points. I can't actually make bullet points in this, but having the little breaks of everything, like, hey, effect 1, effect 2, effect 3, this is what Yu-Gi-Oh! Should always do. Guys should always do this, Konami. Let's make this easy. But anyway, back to the effect. As main effects basically stay the same. Only difference is we're adding from your hand or graveyard. So you can special summon this guy by banishing Vampire Lord you control and this guy can be special summoned from your hand or graveyard. He is a zombie rising from the dead, which means you can discard him, which means he's not a just dead draw on like you can play some other discard effects because you're getting a more graveyard effects, getting that synergy bonus. From there, if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, declare one type. Monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent sends one card for that type from their deck to the graveyard. That's pretty. I mean, that's still good. Like just flooding out some of their more powerful spells and traps are usually pretty solid. And if they are playing more monsters that you actually do want in the graveyard, then it might be a good option as well. But just keeping that original effect, it doesn't need anything else. We don't need this guy to be a summoner. We actually already have a zombie summoner guy, which was who was it? It was the Pharaoh guy. It was one of the cards that we fixed earlier on, so we don't need another one. So once per turn during your next standby phase, after this card in your possession was destroyed and sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, special summon this from the graveyard. That is cool, and it does. I believe this technically doesn't counter each other. Cannot be normal summon or set. Must be special from your hand because it was already met that condition, so it should work already to just bring that back in. But that's kind of the goal. Just if this guy dies, he can be brought back because he was already special summoned from Vampire Lord previously. And coming from the graveyard, keeping the same effects, just make him a bigger stat line, then I think that's pretty cool. So it's just a stronger version that can trade over Jinzo and other problem cards that are in the meta. So having a 3k beast that can come back with a card effect, you get this guy out, you're probably closing out the game within a turn or two anyways. So I like this card a lot, and I think this card is fixed, and we don't really have to touch much else with the zombie structure deck, but let's take a look just in case. So looking through on the structure deck, there's really not much that we haven't already fixed already. Dust Spirit, we kind of played with the Spirit Monsters a bit previously. Go check out some of those videos. Pyramid Turtle is phenomenal, just great staple. Despair from the Dark, I love this card a lot, just because of a lot of the hand removal cards. It really does punish your opponent for that. So when we do start nipping cards away from your opponent from their hand, pretty cool. I like it. Ryokoki, phenomenal, just stat line. Love this card. Kids we special summon with Turtle. Makes zombie decks really cool. Bone, Soul Absorbing Bone Tower. If you control another zombie type monster, each time your opponent cannot target this card for attacks. Each time a zombie is special summoned, send top 2 cards from the graveyard. Again, we get that milling engine. It synergizes really well with Vampire Lord and the other Vampire Lady, just declaring cards and sending them to the graveyard. It does have a little bit of mill expectation to it, which can be really fun, and it does kind of fit a good theme that I want to stick with. Double custom, just tributes. There's a lot of good synergy with this guy. He's got a decent stat line altogether. He's not played too much, but he's definitely playable with a couple different deck builds. And he is special summonable by Turtle if you really have a big guy in your hand. So great card overall. Regenerating Mummy. When this card is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, return this card to your hand. Pretty good. Again, good stat line. It's playable. It's good in a starter deck. You're not going to play this as a meta, but you're playing this in a starter deck easily. It's pretty good. And then all the powerhouse cards. Call of the Mummy is broken, so is Book of Life, but those cards never really broke the meta, and I don't think they would continue with their changes to Vampire Genesis. So really, guys, that's the first 2 structure decks that I wanted to work on. This is kind of just, again, me testing my feet back in to see if you guys really want to watch this content again, or just to kind of me developing the series a little bit more. I did miss it. I love this series. I love talking game design stuff. I'm going to be working actually on a new series myself of just playing around with different game design aspects because I make a lot of games when I'm bored. And I feel like they're pretty good, but I have a big ego, so it's hard to say exactly. So if you do want to see more, please, again, out of any video, like, subscribe, and share. Just put comments in. I need to see some feedback if you want this series to progress. I would really like to keep going, but it's going to depend on if you guys want to see it. I need to see more than 200 views in order to really make these videos worth it. So if you want to see more, like, subscribe. I won't beg anymore, but I do appreciate any content. I really do want to shout out all the people who have followed the series. The series isn't dead. Again, I just really wanted to make sure I was passionate about it again before I started making content. So if you guys want to see more, keep it alive. Let me know. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Love you all. Mwah. Bye.